Alright guys, day 6 sculpting, and as you can see I'm finished with the sculpture itself. I've added a lot of details last time I sculpted this, and I added the textures, if you guys can see that right there. Added more depth, I even added the rope, right there. So yeah, I'm pretty much done with the sculpture itself, and up next is the mold making step, main step number 3, mold making. And before I do that, I like to share some important tips about the sculpting itself. And yeah, so let's get started with that. Actually, first, this is how the sculpture started out first. So you can see right there. That's the clay-based sculpture. Now here's where it gets more detailed. See that? I've mapped out, what I'm gonna do, stuff like that. It lacks depth and it lacks detail, but keep on working your sculpture. And then that's where the detail started to come. It first started out at the left eye, then it kind of spread throughout the whole entire mask. There. So yeah, see how it kind of evolved over time. I've added the teeth sockets. See? And there's your final sculpture. Simple, if you know how. Okay, so here's the tips. There's actually quite a few, so make sure you guys remember these tips. Take notes if you want, it doesn't matter. Okay, so sculpting. Tip number 1. Sculpt three-dimensional. Don't sculpt flat. None of those holes and boring lines. You guys know what I mean. And add eye-catching details such as depth and structure. Now, if you guys don't know what depth is, once again, depth is basically the stuff in the sculpture that pops out. Like for instance, the nose. The eyebrows. As you can see in the sculpture, the eyebrows are a bit, popped out and more angled. Know your layers. And what I mean by layers, I mean first goes the clay-based layer, which is very important. And then the simple shapes, adding chunks of clay to shape in, maybe the expression of the mask, the cheekbones, the forehead, all that stuff. And then last but not least, the detail. So remember those 3 layers. Now, tip number 4: use modeling clay, because first of all, it's a time saver. You don't have to go in the oven back and forth just to soften up the clay, and then sculpting it, and then after 30 minutes, the actual clay itself hardens. You can't do that with modeling clay, but so I suggest you guys use modeling clay. Now, tip number 5. There's nothing wrong with going to Google and typing in horror masks and studying how the details are. So that's actually good. Or even videos of other people's work. You guys should always study the details of other people's masks so you guys can learn something. But don't copy. Don't copy. Next tip: don't just think about how cool it is to you. Think about other people's opinion about it. Think about presentation. Next tip: think about the sculpture's expression. This is optional. As you guys can see, all my masks, they actually don't have an expression in them. I still have to work on that. So yeah, adding an expression is optional, but if you do make an expression in your mask, it actually makes it better. Next tip: don't just think about the design. Think about the person wearing the cast of the sculpture itself. Like, will it be comfortable? Will they be able to see, breathe? All that stuff. And next tip: if you see something that needs editing or fixing, then fix it. Simple as that. Fix it. You don't have to complain about it. So next tip: anything is possible when it comes to sculpting. If you put your mind to it, if you concentrate. If you guys see like regular edges and other simple shapes and aspects, you guys have the option. You guys have the option to deform it. Deforming is something that I use a lot. It's basically where you add more clay, or add lines, and add, you know, like curves to the actual shape, to the actual regular shape itself, to, you know, deform the, you know, the actual structure itself. Like, instead of making, I don't know, like the nose like this, like the bridge of the nose, you can make it like that, you know, like crooked. You know, it actually looks better if it's crooked anyway. So yeah, try to get rid of, you know, the plain clay-based layer look, you know, depending on your design. Take your time, don't rush. That's the next tip. Now the next tip, be happy with what you've created so far. If you're not satisfied with it, keep on sculpting, you know. Keep on sculpting until you're satisfied, because when you're satisfied, you have good feeling about your sculpture, and when that happens, you know, you're good to go. You know, use the variety of tools at your disposal, and if you don't have that much tools, then that's okay. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the house where you can use as tools, like, you know, toothpicks. I don't know, yeah, and some other stuff. Now, also use your thumb to smoothen out stuff. You know, get in the habit of doing that. Now, here's another optional tip. Add texture if you need to. Now, since I'm doing a scarecrow, I definitely have to add the texture of the potato sack kind of thing. So yeah, add texture if you need to, but you don't have to. Now, here's a tip that my art teacher used to tell me last year when I was a junior in high school. He used to tell me to not concentrate on one area of the sculpture for detail, like focus on the entire sculpture, if you guys get that. Like, instead of, you know, adding bumps, you know, ridges and details to one eye, instead of doing that, you know, like, concentrate on the whole entire sculpture, like add details everywhere, you know, not just one spot, you know, everywhere. Another thing, start out with basic shapes of clay and then make the details. And what I mean by that is, you know, like the simplest clay, like right here, the simple clay piece right here can alter how, you know, the actual sculpture looks. So the smaller pieces are actually, they act as, like, you know, like the fine detail and stuff. So yeah, keep that in mind. Make sure to use small pieces, you know, medium pieces and big pieces, you know. Try to, you know, mix it up a bit. So the bigger sculpture, the bigger the cast. And I learned this, you know, like a long time ago, but I actually never learned to execute it. Like, for my malfunction death machine sculpture, it turns out that the sculpture was actually too small. So, and as a result, the plastic cast it's really tight around my face, so I don't know if it's gonna fit anybody else's. So make sure your sculpture is bigger than usual. So and if you're doing a half mask, make sure that the clay sculpture reaches up to the, you know, like the ear area, you know, like, so it will actually cover your whole entire face, you know, and not just up to your cheeks, you know, like. So it's always good if you guys make the sculpture up to the ear area. So once again, use bits of clay for the small and fine details, and use bigger pieces of clay to change the depth of the sculpture, and also to add more 3D aspects to the sculpture. And here's one thing: don't rely on the quick sketch of your mask. Use the sketch only as a starter, and then branch off from it. You know, like right here. If you look at the final sculpture, the mouth doesn't actually look like that. And as you can see, I actually branched off from this idea. You know, the ripples or whatever these things are, the things you see here, it actually moved, like right here, like it actually spread it out, and I had an idea for like an open spot for where you can see the actual human wearing the scarecrow mask, but you know, that idea didn't go so well, so I evolved from that, you know, get what I'm saying? So don't always rely on the sketch.